So far, it is only the Afghan uh, community that has been named, actually, and Pakistanis have not been named. Uh, and today, I saw that as the initial stage passes away and things are settling in. Some people have also, I saw on American TV channels this evening that some channels have already started pointing out that it probably was just an individual and not the entire community. It will be wrong to blame all the Afghans living in the United States. And they are also pointing out his links to the U.S. military, to the CIA. He worked with the CIA. He worked with the U.S. forces against the Taliban. He participated in several attacks on Taliban. And therefore, it is also being pointed out that maybe it was just a desperate act by an individual. And some reports, at least I saw NBC News, which was saying that authorities have probed his possible links to various extremist or terrorist groups, and so far they have found no link. Actually, they said he not only was pro-America and anti-Taliban, but even his entire family was anti-Taliban. So I think as the situation crystallizes, this emphasis, this stress on this being a collective act of a community, whether Afghan or Pakistani or Muslims, whichever way you want to look at it, I think this stress will relax a little, and people will start seeing it as a desperate act of a desperate individual, rather than something planned, organized, or executed by a community. Number one. Number two, unless they really find some concrete evidence, they will also will not. They already are playing it, but I think soon the U.S. media will start talking about it not being an act of organized terrorism. So these things are there, but no matter what and how we define it, it ultimately has an impact on all the Muslims living in the United States. It makes them look bad. It makes them look dangerous. And ordinary Americans, like ordinary ordinary people, like ordinary Pakistanis, ordinary people do not like getting into too many details. When they say something, most people take it as the face value, and what is the initial impression, often it also turns out to be the final impression for most ordinary people. Those who are in the media, those who conduct research, those who are into the habit of looking at things closely, they will see the difference, and they may start seeing it as an act of a desperate individual. But the general public will still somehow, not just with Afghanistan, but they will associate it with Muslims and with their faith, and that will ultimately have a negative impact on American Muslims. But I think the way things are turning out, it will not be as big an impact as we initially thought. It was actually an order that was issued by the Department of Immigration and Customs and US, what we call USIS, United Immigration and Customs, immigration authorities, and it said that on the direction of President Trump, we have decided to review all political asylums and green cards and work permits issued to people from 19 countries that included Afghanistan, that included Iran, that included Libya, that included Burma and several other countries. And then it said that all those cases will be reopened, and then it will they will decide whether to permit them to continue to stay in the United States or send them back. Then you saw President Trump's tweets last night saying that he will permanently cancel immigrations from all third world countries. And when you talk about all third world countries, it obviously applies to Pakistan as well. Pakistan so far is not on the list of 19 countries who have been declared security risks. Although the full name has never been disclosed, only 8 or 10 names have come on the surface. So we don't know who is on that list and who is not. But most people in Washington, and I have checked with Pakistani diplomats also, they say that no, Pakistan is not on the list. So far we are safe. But we will have to wait and see how the situation develops. I mean, if things get more concerned that then all Muslims living in the United States will become vulnerable, and Pakistan will be no exception. But so far, President Trump's anger and his rhetoric seem to be focused on Afghans and Somalians. He is targeting Somalians a lot in his tweets, in his statements. He is condemning particularly those those who support Congresswoman Ilham Umar, and and he's targeting them, and he's saying that they are radical, they are extremists, and they should not have been allowed to come to the United States. So so basically, most of the talk you hear in Washington is about Afghans and Somalians, and I hope that as it becomes clear that this was an individual act, an act of desperation by an individual, then I think people will stop blaming communities, whether Afghans or Somalians or Pakistanis or whoever, and they will then just focus on the individual who committed this crime. I mean, obviously, we all believe that it was a heinous crime. We all see it as an act of terror, and everybody wants this person to be punished. And I think he will be punished. But if it is just an individual's act, then the media campaign as well as the government efforts should focus on him rather than blaming an entire community. This incident, as many things close to an election do, these things also become a political dispute between the Republicans and the Democrats. As you know, that Americans are going to polls again, and next year they'll be electing a new Congress, the entire Congress, actually, the House of Representatives, and some members of the Senate as well. And it is a very important election. Whoever wins that election will not only control Congress, but will also heavily influence the decision making in Washington. Although the president is independent and he does not depend on Congress for making executive orders or taking decisions, but he does need Congress's approval for for anything that involves money. I mean, the purse is controlled by Congress, and whatever action he wants to take has to be approved by Congress, in the sense that it is Congress that will ultimately provide money for that operation or for that effort or for that measure. So if the Trump administration loses the midterm election, then it will become a lame duck administration. It will not be able to do much in the next 2 years. And President Trump is very, very keen. He has come with an agenda which includes discouraging migration, which includes persuading immigrants living here to leave the country, that includes restricting immigration, reducing the numbers, political asylum, all sorts of things. And then there are also other administrative changes that he wants to bring. And when he came to power, he said that he wants to make, as they claim, a great America, a new America, where there will be little space for liberal social values, for liberal politics. So he has a tall agenda, and he needs congressional support for implementing the promises he made during the elections, and he still insists that he will fulfill those promises. But to do so, he needs to win the next election, and that is why everything he is presenting as Trump versus Biden, and he believes that that is how he won the elections, by showing by showing Biden as someone who was not an active president, that he was too unwell to actually run the White House, and that the White House was run on his behalf by his aides, and Trump, as he said in one of the tweets today, that most of his aides were, he says, loony, from the loony left, and they were dangerous leftists, and they were pushing Biden, their own agenda in Biden's name. And so there is a system which was first used by President Obama, that is called autopen. I mean, that there are certain orders that the president does not have to sign individually, but it can be signed by an autopen. And he says that, and Biden did issued a lot of orders using this autopen system. And this evening, President Trump said in another tweet that he is canceling all autopen orders, and there's a lot of orders. And so if he succeeds in doing so, then it will set a completely new new example. I mean, like previously, all presidents respected the orders issued by their predecessors, but this will be the first time that the president will actually just declare the orders of his predecessors as null and void. It will have huge consequences for how this country is run. So I don't know whether he actually legally, it is not obvious. So far, it's not obvious that he can actually cancel the orders issued by a former president or not. But if he does, and if he's allowed to do so, then it will have repercussions everywhere in domestic politics, as well as on the international stage.